What's up YouTube? Welcome back to Track Talk. In today's video, we're going to be looking at Macklemore and Ryan Lewis's album, The Heist. The Heist is Macklemore and Ryan Lewis's debut album, which was released in 2012 and is 18 songs in length. Now going into this album, I wanted to answer one of hip-hop's biggest questions, which was, did this album deserve to win a Grammy, and particularly over Good Kid, Mad City by Kendrick Lamar? Starting out with some of the positives on this album, right out of the gate, the first song, 10,000 Hours, I thought was one of my top 3 or 4 songs on the album, especially as a tone setter from the very beginning. I think it was a really cool theme in that song. It was actually written based off or inspired by Malcolm Gladwell's 2008 book titled The Story of Success. The main theme of the song and of that book was that Gladwell explains how it takes 10,000 hours to truly master a craft, which I think is really cool. No matter how you want to look at it, whether that be a sport, a hobby, or even your job, it really does take that much time and expertise to be able to truly master whatever it is you want to do or whatever it is you're doing. Secondly, Can't Hold Us, which was a song that going into this I knew was going to receive a 10. I honestly had a pretty big recollection of the song just based off the music video, so I actually wasn't surprised that the song won Best Music Video at the 2014 Grammys. Like I said, I think I knew the song more or less from the actual music video. Also in Can't Hold Us, I think one of the more memorable parts of that song is the chorus itself, sung by Ray Dalton. I think it's just an absolutely amazing chorus. That song as a whole was certainly my favorite song on this album by a pretty wide stretch margin. There's so many different parts to that song. There's more fast parts. There's obviously the chorus that's more lyrical. I think it's a masterful song kind of put together, almost like a movie, and I think the music video does justice to that as well. Another positive from this album was the song Thrift Shop, which going into this album I knew was definitely going to be a favorite of mine. It's kind of that funky, weird beat that most people recognize it by. I think there's a lot of funny bars in that song. I actually gave it a 9. I don't think it was deserving of a 10. I don't think it's at that level that Can't Hold Us is at, but I do think it was a very good song as well. And a fun fact I actually learned, and this was new to me, that there was actually an episode of Sesame Street that Macklemore was on, and they actually had a remake of the song, a rendition if you will, titled The Grouch Thrift Shop, and Macklemore played himself as Mucklemore. And so I thought that was kind of ridiculous, but also really cool to kind of put a version of Thrift Shop into Sesame Street, so that was really cool.
Wouldn't you like to rock a fish on your noodle? Wouldn't you like to wear the kit and caboodle? Do you have a skunk stole with the prune pit? One grouch is trash, that's another grouch's outfit.
I'm gonna pop some trash. Only got 7 bags in my trash can.
Yeah.
Another one of my favorite songs on the album was My Oh My, which I thought was really cool being a sports and baseball fan, because that song is based off the Seattle Mariners winning the 1995 ALDS, which I thought was really cool being that Macklemore is from Seattle. I think it was really cool how they used some of the broadcast audio in the song. Another song I thought was really good on the album that I'll just briefly talk about was White Walls. I think that was a really good song. I love the chorus. I think it's a very catchy, melodic kind of hook that really kind of ties the song together, and I thought the Schoolboy Q feature was also pretty cool in that song as well. Probably the coolest thing about this album to me was all the themes that were embedded in this album within songs, sometimes 2 or 3 songs in the album. Just to go over a few of those themes that stood out the most to me, the independent artist kind of theme that was presented in a couple of the songs on the album, those songs being Make the Money and Jimmy Iovine. I thought that was a really cool theme that was kind of represented in those 2 songs in particular, because I think a lot of especially up-and-coming artists or smaller artists that are independent kind of have that perception that you can't make it unless you sign a big record contract or record deal with a bigger label or a label period for that matter. So I think it was really cool that Macklemore, being this kind of small independent artist that kind of came up and this album kind of put him on the map, I think it was really cool that he kind of touched on that in a couple songs in this album. Another theme I thought was really cool and really interesting was that alcoholism theme that I know Macklemore has talked about in the past in previous songs. That theme came up in a couple songs as well, those songs being Neon Cathedral and Starting Over. So I think that was really cool how he kind of told a story within those 2 songs, kind of with his past and now his present going forward. And in one of my other favorite songs, a third theme that stood out to me the most was in the song Wings. A lot of people today and in today's society kind of value ourselves and value other people based on what they're wearing, what they own. The Jordans and Adidas kind of representing a popular person or someone that has money or has wealth compared to someone that might not have as much, but I think it's really cool because we don't, as a society, I feel like we only look at the outside of judging a book by its cover, if you would, that there's more to someone than just what they're wearing, what they own. Before I get into some of the negatives on this album, I wanted just to briefly touch on the song Bomb Bomb. While it didn't receive a score on this album due to there not being enough material to justifully give it a rating 1 to 10, I did actually really enjoy that song. It was actually more of a collection of different sounds and instruments, which I thought was really cool, being kind of almost an intermission in the middle part of this album, which kind of broke it up, which I thought was really cool. So while it didn't receive a score, I did want to mention it because it was a very cool song in my opinion. Going into some of the negatives of this album for me, one of the big ones was there was a couple songs that really felt out of place. Those songs were Cowboy Boots, which was a country-esque song that they tried to pull off, and in my opinion did not pull it off very well, and I thought it was kind of distracting from the flow of the album. As well as the song Castle, my description was, what are we doing here? It just felt like a mess, and a song that I thought had a lot of potential with the theme of it being thin line, with that balance of relationships we have with people, also with the relationship that artists and rappers and musicians have with the music, in this case the hip-hop and rap industry. How you kind of balance that, like being able to commit yourself to a relationship with a friend and also that relationship you have with your music and with your passion. I think it was really cool they kind of show that back and forth, or that sometimes it kind of weighs on each other. So overall, I thought this was a very solid album. I gave this album a 7.2 out of 10. I thought there were a lot of highlights with Thrift Shop, Can't Hold Us, 10,000 Hours, Wings. There were too many songs that I would have labeled as distractions or songs that brought the weight down of this album as a whole. I certainly do not think this album should have won a Grammy, and particularly over Good Kid, Mad City. My one sentence to describe this album would be this: I think this album had a lot of good themes and a lot of good motives and a lot of good material within the songs for the most part. I just think it wasn't executed to its fullest extent. Certainly if I were to go back and listen to some of the songs on this album, the songs could grow on me, just as any song could or as any album could. But my initial reaction was, I think there were some top heavy hitters, which I knew going into this would kind of carry the weight of this album, and some songs that definitely pulled the weight down for this album. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, like to see more, comment who you want to see next, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.